This is Tha Abduäl, transmitting from Denver Heights, San Antonio, Texas. And I want to thank you for tuning in, and dropping out into these digital airwaves. I am your highly humble host, Jamal Abdual Brown. Tha Abduäl is a raw, prophetic, spiritual, transgressive voice that reveals the power of the divine, stands with the stigmatized, exposes false holiness, and calls people from shame, collapse, and self-deception into truth, dignity, and reconstruction. Tha Abduäl Creed. I am a servant of the divine. The divine is within all and beyond all and cannot be owned. The stigmatized are sacred and not abandoned. Justice must be fought for. The lie that domination is holy must be exposed. What was buried must be reclaimed. What was bound must be free. And my life shall remain in service. God and the gutter. They taught you God lives where the floor stay clean. That's a lie. They taught you the divine hangs around pressed collars, polished language, paid bills, smiling families, and people who know how to hide their rot. They taught you God stays in the sanctuary, not the alley, in the prayer circle, not the crack house, in the testimony, not the psych ward, in the church clothes, not the county blues, in a respectable home, not the stained mattress in a motel where somebody is trying like hell not to disappear. That's what they sold you. A clean little God for a clean little people. A housebroken God. A disinfected God. A God too fragile to walk through blood, puke, sweat, sex, shame, needles, gel phones, pill bottles, split lips, eviction notices, and the kind of nights that smell like stale smoke, panic, and one more bad decision. That ain't God. That's cowardice with a choir robe on. And some of you swallowed that lie so deep, it got in your bones. You started looking at your own life like contaminated ground. You started reading your wounds like verdicts. The relapse meant God left. The diagnosis meant God left. The public disgrace meant God left. The psych ward meant God left. The overdose meant God left. The motel room meant God left. The sex you regret meant God left. The things you did to survive meant God left. And the shame in your body meant God left. No. Listen to me. The real blasphemy is not saying God is in the gutter. The real blasphemy is believing the gutter is the one place the divine won't go. Now let's stop talking pretty. The gutter is not just some curb with black rainwater running through it. The gutter is every place this world throws the people it cannot profit from, cannot control, cannot aestheticize, and cannot stand to look at without inventing a moral excuse. The gutter is the detox bed. The gutter is the jail cell. The gutter is the shelter cot. The gutter is a psych unit under fluorescent lights that make everybody look half dead. The gutter is the bathroom floor where you swore to God you would never do this shit again. The gutter is a corner where somebody learned their body had a price because the world made damn sure their life didn't. The gutter is the hospital bracelet. The gutter is the shaking hand. The gutter is the empty fridge. The gutter is a family that loves you only when you're edited. The gutter is the morning after your soul feels like an ashtray. The gutter is the body they taught you to call disgusting. The gutter is the mind that broke under too much grief and too little mercy. The gutter is wherever sacred worth gets denied so clean people can keep feeling clean. That's the gutter. And most people need it to be godless. You know why? Because if God is in the gutter, then their whole little religion of distance starts falling the hell apart. If God is in the gutter, then you can't call contempt discernment. If God is in the gutter, then disgust ain't wisdom. If God is in the gutter, then your refusal to touch the wounded is not holiness. It's vanity. It's fear. It's spiritual cowardice with good grammar. Some of y'all need the gutter to be godless because you damn near enjoy having somebody beneath you. Say it. You like a world where there are the filthy and the clean, the failed and the chosen, the embarrassing and the blessed, the people you can showcase and the people you can step over. You need God to stay away from certain people so you can stay cruel without calling yourself cruel. That's the game. That's why false holiness always smells like control, always smells like class anxiety, always smells like people trying to keep blood off their shoes while other folks are bleeding out in plain sight. Let me drag this knife a little deeper so you don't need a preacher to condemn you anymore. You learn how to do it yourself. You call yourself ruined. You call yourself filthy. You call yourself too far gone. You call yourself the kind of broken that can't be held. You call yourself a mistake God got tired of trying to carry. You call yourself disqualified because your life got ugly in public and you dress that shit up with humility. It ain't humility. It's self-contempt in church clothes. It's internalized disgust. It's you joining the chorus of every voice that ever taught you your wound was your worth. Shame is a hell of a ventriloquist. He'll throw his voice and have you calling yourself garbage in the name of honesty. But hear me. Collapse is not abandonment. Pain is not proof of exile. Stigma is not revelation. And shame is not the voice of God. Let's make it plain enough to survive contact with real life. If all life exists within the divine, then no human wreckage can put you outside sacred reality. Not the addict with track marks healing bad. Not the man fresh out of county with his whole damn name dragged through the dirt. Not the woman disassociating in a waiting room because her mind has taken too many hits. Not the sex worker the world wants to use at night and damn by morning. Not the queer kid taught to flinch at their own desire like it's a crime scene. Not the body swollen by meds, stress, cortisol, survival. Not the soul caked in 10 years of lies, compulsion, self-betrayal, and hunger. Not the one who sold what they had to sell. Not the one who drank until their conscience went blurry. Not the one who keeps waking up in the same wreckage, scared of themselves, but still somehow breathing. You do not get to exile anybody from the divine because your comfort is too weak to survive the sight of them. And don't get stupid with this. I am not romanticizing ruin. I am not telling you the needle is holy. I'm not telling you abuse is holy. I'm not telling you exploitation is holy. I'm not telling you self-destruction is holy. I'm not telling you psychosis is holy. I'm not telling you degradation is holy. The gutter is not sacred because suffering is beautiful. The gutter is sacred because the divine does not flinch. That's the difference. God is in the gutter does not mean God is impressed with your collapse. It means the holy is not a coward. That's what makes this message dangerous. It tears the nice mask off holiness and shows the scared little face underneath. Because a whole lot of what people call reverence is really just spiritual squeamishness with better branding. They don't mind a wounded person who still smells expensive. They don't mind a broken person who can tell the story clean. They don't mind a sinner who knows how to be photogenic, articulate, upwardly, mobile, and grateful on cue. But let somebody come in shaky. Let someone smell like the night they barely survived. Let somebody be hard to package. Let somebody be mentally frayed, sexually shamed, publicly disgraced, poor in the wrong zip code, angry in the wrong tone, complicated in a way that won't fit a redemption campaign. Now watch how fast everybody's theology starts packing up. That's because the gutter tests whether your compassion is real or whether it's just a performance with soft lighting. Anybody can say people matter when the people are easy. Anybody can preach grace when grace still gets to wear cologne. Anybody can talk about sacred worth when the room is curated, the testimony is cleaned up, and the bleeding has already stopped. But can your theology stand in a room that smells like detox sweat, cheap soap, old cigarette, and fear? Can your doctrine survive contact with the psych ward? Can your reverence survive a body that has been bought, medicated, restrained, shamed, or violated? Can your spirituality survive poverty that doesn't come with a noble quote and good camera angles? Can your compassion stand next to somebody whose life is still leaking? Or was your whole faith just a decorative lie for people who could afford to look redeemable? That's the question. Because a faith that cannot find God in the gutter is not deep. It's bullshit. And some of you need to repent. Not because you've cussed, not because you've doubted, not because you broke down, not because your life got ugly, but because you made peace with contempt. That's the sin. You made peace with distance. You made peace with disgust. You made peace with the idea that certain lives are beneath reverence. You made peace with the notion that sacred worth can be revoked by stigma, poverty, madness, addiction, or shame. You made peace with a world where some people get to be called mystery and others only get to be called mess. That's desecration. Not the addict, not the poor, not the mad, not the marked, not the sexually shamed, not the one with a criminal record, not the one whose body carries evidence, not the one trying to claw the way back from the edge with nobody clapping. No, the desecration is your cold little theology, your polished refusal, your clean-handed distance. You need for a holy that never has to touch anything that might stain your self-image. That is the filth. And if you are the one hearing this from inside the gutter, if your life has gone ragged, if your mind has been in pieces, if shame has had its boot on your neck, if your history follows you like a damn smell you can't wash out, hear me carefully. If your life is not cheap because it's got torn open, your soul is not trash because your story is ugly. You are not beyond sacred reality because you broke in public. You are not beneath the divine because your body remembers what hell felt like. You are not disqualified from reverence because people with cleaner sins needed your life to mean less. You may be in a gutter, but the gutter is not godless. The divine has not lost your address. God knows the room number, knows the cell block, knows the shelter bed, knows the clinic chair, knows the floor you woke up on, knows the alley, knows the ache, knows the taste of shame in your mouth before sunrise. And no, sacred presence is not permission to stay asleep in your ruin. Because the same God who won't abandon you also won't bullshit you. The divine in the gutter is not there to stroke your delusion, not there to co-sign every excuse, not there to turn your self-destruction into identity and call it authenticity, not there to applaud the lie that because you were wounded, you now get to worship your wound. No. God meets you in the gutter to tell you the truth with dirt still on your face. You are still sacred. Now stop helping what's killing you. You are loved. Now stop kneeling to what degrades you. You are still within the holy. Now stop building your personality out of the damage. You have been sinned against. Yes. You have also lied to yourself. Yes. Both can be true. And healing without truth is just prettier bondage. That's the heart of mercy. No abandonment. Not abandonment. Not indulgence. Presence with demands. A holy presence that says, I know what they did. I know what it cost. I know how far down you fell. Now get up without lying. A holy presence that says, you were degraded. Now don't let degradation become your God. A holy presence that says, you were cast down. Do not build your home in that ditch. A holy presence that says they lied about your worth. Do not become their fucking echo. That's the turn. Because some of you have spent years trying to become clean enough to deserve reverence when what you really needed was to stop kneeling before the theology of disgust. Some of you do not need more inspiration. You need deliverance from contempt. Some of you do not need another soft explanation. You need the lie dragged into the open and strangled there. The lie that says, if I suffer, I am forsaken. If I am shamed, I am filth. If I broke publicly, I am finished. If I have lived in ruin, then ruin is my name. If I have done ugly things, then ugly is all I am. If I have crawled through the gutter, then I must belong to it. No, no, no. You have touched the gutter. You may still smell like it. Hell, you may still be face down in it. But it does not own the final word over you. And neither does a clean little religion that left you there. So here is the charge. Stop calling godless what the divine still inhabits. Stop calling people disposable because their pain offends your fantasy of order. Stop confusing disgust with discernment. Stop baptizing your cowardice and calling it conviction. Stop using holiness as an excuse to stay untouched. And if you are the one buried under shame, hear me like your soul is on the line. Get up. Not because the gutter was fake. Not because your pain was small. Not because the damage didn't cost blood. Not because you didn't lose years. Not because you weren't violated. Not because you didn't betray yourself. Not because there isn't real grief in your history. Get up because your sacred words survived what they tried to bury it. Get up because collapse is not your name. Get up because the divine did not climb down into your ruin just to leave you there with prettier language. Get up because no place is beneath the holy. Get up because no soul becomes unworthy of truth because it bled in public. Get up. Take the hit. Tell the truth. Kill the lie. And do not ever again call abandon what the divine refused to leave. That is the word. God in the gutter. Not because ruin is the end. Not because suffering is pure. Not because pain is glamorous. But because the holy is deeper than your disgust, stronger than your stigma, and far too vast to be scared off by the places this world dumps its wounded. No place is beneath the divine. Remember that. And if your theology cannot kneel in the gutter, then you let your theology break. This is Tha Abduäl. I am Jamal Abdual Brown. Let it be so.